It is the only living creature that even Elon Musk cannot buy. A man who bought Twitter, launched rockets to Mars, and built the most valuable car in the world cannot touch this organism. It is protected neither by lawyers nor by politics. It is protected by something much older and much more ruthless. Because it is not only the most expensive creature on Earth, it is also the rarest, the most hunted, and the most genetically irreplaceable species in history. But to understand why even Musk cannot approach it, we must count down the 10 most valuable creatures on the planet, starting with a blue diamond. It started like any other fishing trip: worn-out boat, cold Atlantic wind, and a lobster trap pulled from the ocean floor near Maine. But inside this trap, it wasn't dinner. It was an anomaly in evolution. A bright electric blue, not dark, not murky, luminous. A lobster so rare that scientists estimated the chances of its existence at 1 in 2 million. The color came from a rare genetic mutation that causes the crustacean to overproduce a particular protein, altering the way its shell reflects light. But for the fisherman who pulled it from the water, what caused it didn't matter. He was holding $500,000. The news spread within a few hours. Marine institutes outbid each other. A private collector in Asia reportedly offered $500,000 for the living creature. But then came the problem. No one could agree on whether it was legal to sell it. Officials feared it might not survive the transport. Biologists argued for conservation, and the fisherman, caught in the middle, watched his one-time payment disappear behind layers of paperwork. Finally, the lobster was placed in a secure marine facility, in a temperature-controlled tank and enclosed behind temperature glass. Cameras monitor it 24 hours a day. No one approaches it. It is not food, it is not a pet, it is a living museum piece, perhaps the only one of its kind. But here is the part that no one says out loud. It is harmless. The blue lobster does not kill. It defends nothing. It will not break a fence or end up in a dictator's collection. It does not require guards, weapons, or secrets. It's rare, but it's not dangerous. And in the world of ultra-wealth, of living assets, that matters more than anything. Because rarity can get you headlines, but danger gives you power. And the next creature on this list, it not only cost more than a house, it was bred to defend them. 9. Tibetan Mastiff, $1.9 million. It looks like a lion, weighs more than a ton as an adult, and once protected emperors in the Himalayas. But today, it sleeps on silk sheets, eats Wagyu beef, and rides in the front of Bentleys. It's the Tibetan Mastiff, the most expensive dog on earth, with a mane like a predator and the size of a small bear. It's not a pet dog, it's a genetic remnant bred for attitude, trained for war, and designed to intimidate. Its bark can burst eardrums. Its bite force rivals that of a tiger. And in China, during the luxury boom of the 2000 and 2010 years, it became the symbol of the most elite status money can buy. Billionaires started collecting them like Americans collect watches. The rarer the coat, the higher the price. And if it was red, a color symbolizing prosperity in Chinese culture, it could reach crazy prices. In 2014, a red Tibetan Mastiff was sold for nearly $2 million. The buyer? A real estate developer who arrived with a private convoy. The dog was loaded into a Bentley. He came with his own bodyguards. He never walked on the ground again. The owners installed velvet floors. Some spent more on grooming than on security. Others claimed their dog was descended from an imperial lineage. Rumors impossible to prove, but excellent for driving up prices. But the market did not last. As quickly as it rose, it collapsed. The Chinese government cracked down on excessive displays of wealth and prices dropped. Some breeders were forced to close. But the myth of the million-dollar Mastiff is not dead. It just went underground in private properties, kept in complexes and luxury farms where price tags are less disclosed. Because they are not just pets, they are trophies. They are protectors. And for a brief moment in history, it was worth more than a Ferrari. Even at a time of being objects, Tibetan Mastiffs always had one thing in common with all other dogs: loyalty. They bond with their owner, they respond to commands, they protect by instinct. The next creature, it doesn't care who owns it, it doesn't follow orders, and it was once traded for the price of a jet. 8. White Arabian Horse, $3 million or more. It's not just a horse, it's living nobility. The white Arabian is the crown jewel of equine lineages, traced through centuries of desert wars, royal caravans, and tribal dynasties. With its arched neck, sculpted head, and luminous ivory coat, it is such a rare creature that kings once traded lands just to own one. But in the 21st century, the market has changed. It is no longer about conquest, it is about perfection, and perfection has a price. Across Dubai, Qatar, and Saudi Arabia, elite breeders compete silently, investing millions in climate-controlled stables, caretakers available 24 hours a day, and biometric monitoring. The goal? Genetic domination. A single purebred stallion can now sell for more than $3 million. Not for racing, not for riding, but for something much more valuable: breeding rights. At the highest level, these horses do not compete. They are collected, traded behind closed doors, transported across continents in custom crates. They receive spa treatments, eat organic diets, and are often insured for more than the private jets that transport them. The white coat is not just aesthetic, it is symbolic. It signifies purity, wealth, and heritage. Buyers do not just want the animal, they want the lineage. The right stallion paired with the right mare can create a genetic heir worth tens of millions over a decade. Entire dynasties are built around a single horse. But even in this world of silk, show rings, and gold-embroidered saddles, there is still a harsh truth. These creatures are made for display. Revered, yes. Revered even, but never used as a weapon. Because beauty can have value, but fear rewrites the price tag. And the next creature on this list is not a showpiece. It is not trained, tamed, or polished to be auctioned. It is bred to kill on contact, gram by gram. It fits in the palm of your hand. It shines as if it came from an alien jungle. If it ever touches your blood, it can stop your heart in a few seconds. It's the poison dart frog, nature's most efficient assassin. Found in the heart of the rainforests of Central and South America, these frogs earned their name the hard way. Tribal hunters often coded their darts to take down enemies and animals. No teeth, no venom, just contact and collapse. But what makes this creature terrifying also makes it invaluable. Inside its skin is a cocktail of complex alkaloids, compounds so powerful that they have become the focus of some of the most advanced pharmaceutical research in the world. Neurologists, pain scientists, and military entrepreneurs all want the same thing: controlled access to a natural chemical that can stop nerve signals without damaging tissues. In the right laboratory, 1 gram of secretion from Phyllobates terribilis, arguably the most deadly species, can be worth more than $5,000. And that's not even the market value. Due to ethical restrictions, these frogs cannot be harvested in large quantities. Controlled breeding is limited, extraction is delicate, and accidental exposure is fatal. Some laboratories keep them locked in sealed enclosures. Others synthesize analogs, but nothing perfectly replicates the original. The frog's biology is too unique, too unstable, too alive. On the black markets, the price is even higher. Rumors persist that military buyers are seeking skin samples for tranquilizer technology. Others claim that rogue biochemists have tried to weaponize the alkaloids in aerosol form. Most of that is speculation. All of it is deadly, but there is an irony in all of this. Because although the poison frog can kill with a simple touch, it still exists. It still reproduces. It still hops through the underbrush of a dozen nations. The next creature, it can no longer even breathe. It has been gone for centuries. And yet, its unborn child is now worth more than an apartment in Manhattan. It looks like an awkward vulture with a bad haircut. But for conservationists, this bird is a biological relic worth more than gold. The northern bald ibis once flew across Europe, the Middle East, and North Africa in the thousands. It was sacred to the ancient Egyptians, hunted by medieval falconers, and sketched in Gothic manuscripts. Then it disappeared. Poaching, power lines, poisoned water. In the year 2000, fewer than 500 remained on the planet. Today, it is one of the rarest living birds, and its eggs practically state secrets. Under modest conservation programs, each northern bald ibis egg is genetically recorded, temperature monitored, and kept under surveillance 24 hours a day. They are not sold, not exchanged, not even touched, without a permit from at least 3 different international wildlife organizations. Why? Because each egg represents the possibility, however fragile, that the species might survive. And yet, in 2019, one of these eggs disappeared. During a calm breeding season in Austria, a fertilized ibis egg vanished from a protected area, a nesting site. No sign of break-in, no broken shell. Just disappeared. Within a few days, Interpol and wildlife agencies launched a secret investigation spanning 5 countries. Security footage was examined, customs scans were reviewed. The entire egg trade, legal and illegal, was put on alert. The case was never officially solved, but experts estimate that on the black market, a viable northern bald ibis egg, capable of producing a purebred chick, could sell for more than $50,000. Not for food, not for display, but for genetic exclusivity, something that private collectors and exotic breeders will discreetly risk prison sentences to obtain. Some say the egg was smuggled to a private aviary in Qatar. Others believe it was a targeted theft by a renegade conservationist trying to diversify the gene pool. In any case, the theft made one thing clear. When something becomes too rare to be replaced, it stops being just biological and starts becoming political. And that brings us to the next creature, because unlike the ibis, this animal does not live in the shadows. It lives in palaces, flies on presidential planes, and its mere presence can reshape global alliances. They wobble when they walk, they sneeze like toddlers, and they blow up the internet every time they tumble down a hill. But don't be fooled by the fluff. Giant pandas are not pets, they are political levers. Although they are raised in zoos, fed bamboo, and adored by millions, every panda in the world technically belongs to one country, China. This includes those in Washington, D.C., Edinburgh, and Tokyo. And they are not gifts, they are leases. Giant pandas are classified as national treasures of the People's Republic of China, treated more like living diplomats than animals. Hosting just one of these bears requires a formal agreement between governments, years of negotiations, and a check with many zeros. In 2023, the Smithsonian National Zoo paid over $50 million in panda diplomacy fees to China just to host a single breeding pair. This figure includes rental fees, habitat improvements, and a hefty annual donation to the China Conservation Fund. And when a cub is born, it must be sent back to China within 4 years. No exceptions. They come with security teams, Chinese veterinarians, and surveillance clauses buried deep in the contracts. One misstep, a political disagreement, and the pandas are recalled. This has already happened. In 2019, when relations deteriorated between China and Canada, the Calgary Zoo had to send its pandas back earlier. The excuse? Bamboo supply issues. But behind the fluff and the hype lies a deeper strategy. These bears are deployed with the precision of military assets. A panda in the press signals an alliance. A panda withdrawn signals tensions. And in elite diplomatic circles, not having a panda has become just as telling as having one. They can chew bamboo and sleep 12 hours a day, but they move pieces on the global chessboard. And yet, even pandas are not monitored like this next creature. Because while a panda may live under a diplomatic agreement, the animal you are about to meet lives under constant surveillance. It's rare, it's fragile, and it can die from sunburn or loud noise. And if you want to buy one, you'll need permission from 3 governments, a private jet, and a climate-controlled safe, just to keep it alive. For an albino alligator, $150,000 to $500,000. It looks like a ghost, moves like a relic, and if you shine a light too bright, it could die instantly. There are only 15 known living albino alligators on Earth, and unlike their green prehistoric cousins, these creatures are not apex predators. They're genetic accidents so rare and fragile. They require artificial environments just to survive beyond childhood. Born with a complete lack of melanin, albinos are essentially blind, photosensitive, and immunocompromised. In the wild, they would last a week. Maybe. That's why each survivor lives under strict control in a zoo or sanctuary, housed in UV-filtered tanks and monitored by specialists 24 hours a day. Their keepers wear gloves, whisper softly, and maintain strict routines to reduce stress. Because of bad fluctuation in temperature or light, and the alligator dies. They are not only rare, they are high-maintenance responsibilities, but that hasn't stopped collectors from trying to get their hands on them. In 2021, a clandestine deal almost materialized between an African breeder and a Saudi collector offering a bid of $400,000 for a single male specimen. It wasn't rejected because of the cost. It was rejected because even transporting one of these animals across borders could kill it. Just the paperwork spans dozens of regulatory agencies, and a custom climate-controlled travel tank must be designed for the journey. A plane delay or a bout of turbulence could be fatal. Owning an albino alligator is not just about wealth. It's about absolute control over an artificial environment. They are one of the only exotic creatures where the purchase price is lower than the cost of keeping it alive. Even in top facilities like the Audubon Zoo in New Orleans, albino alligators are protected like biological artifacts. Cameras monitor them, visitors are kept at a distance, and security teams patrol their enclosure. Because if one dies, the loss is not only financial, it's genetic extinction. And yet, despite their rarity and fragility, albino alligators are solitary animals. They do not form colonies, do not build hives, but the next creature does. In fact, it does not come alone at all. It comes in a swarm, armed with royal blood, lineage, elite genetic expedition, and a global market ready to pay 5 figures for a single queen. Most people think of bees as disposable workers, but in the world of elite beekeeping, a single queen can be worth more than a sports car and be far more productive. Elite queen bees are not random larvae. They are hand-selected, genetically chosen, and field-tested for specific traits: disease resistance, hyper-efficient pollination, and maximum honey production. These queens do not just support hives, they build empires. And for industrial honey farms or pollination companies, a good queen can make the difference between breaking even and 6-figure harvests. It is not uncommon for commercially quality queens to sell for between $50 and $200, but that is the low end. At the top of the pyramid are the royal lineage queens, raised in isolated valleys in Italy, Hawaii, or Slovenia, places so remote that the drones used for mating are genetically monitored, and the airspace is sometimes restricted during the peak season. These queens are packed in hand-sewn mesh chambers, placed in humidity-controlled tubes, and sent by private courier to apiaries in California, Australia, and the United Arab Emirates. Why all this effort? Because a single queen can produce more than $250,000 of honey per year. Not to mention its breeding value in other operations. In 2022, such a queen raised by an Italian beekeeper with 4 decades of genetic records was sold to a buyer in the Middle East for $10,200 United States dollars. This queen came with her own passport, an embedded microchip, and a non-reproduction clause. There are even black markets for stolen queen lineages. In 2019, an entire convoy of royal queens was hijacked en route to India. The perpetrators were not after the bees, they were after the genome. You do not pet these animals, you do not display them. You invest in them as you would for diamonds or collectible wine. And unlike gold, these queens reproduce wealth. But for all their commercial value, they are still insects. They buzz, they sting, and they die if handled too roughly. The next animal does not die from rough handling. It kills because of it. It prowls in zoos and private kingdoms, wearing its rarity like armor and its color like a flame. It's not a myth, it's not a statue, and it can cost more than a penthouse in Dubai. They are not albinos, they are not bred in the laboratory, and they are certainly not ordinary Bengal tigers. Golden tigers, also known as strawberry tigers, are the rarest of wild cats, born with a recessive gene that dilutes their black stripes into ghostly swirls of gold, copper, and cream. There are fewer than 30 living on the planet, and unlike white tigers, which are now largely products of inbreeding in captivity, golden tigers reproduce almost exclusively through a double recessive gene, making each birth a biological accident comparable to a lunar eclipse. These animals do not end up in children's zoos or roadside attractions. They live in private royal collections, guarded by security cameras, steel fences, and on more than one occasion, armed patrols. In the Middle East and Southeast Asia, owning a golden tiger is not just a luxury, it is a status symbol, rivaled only by private jets and oil fields. The price? Although publicly documented sales are rare, behind closed doors, the breeding rights for a pair of healthy golden tigers have reportedly reached 10-figure numbers. In one verified case in 2021, an adult male was exchanged not for money, but for a solid gold bar and a bulletproof SUV in an entirely off-the-books deal between two legitimate collectors. But even if you had the money, acquiring one is not as simple as writing a check. The logistics are almost impossible. In permitted sites, international veterinary authorizations, secure transport contracts, political connections are all necessary. If you miss a single form, your pet becomes an international smuggling scandal. There is no room for amateurs in this game. Owning a golden tiger is a full-time operation. It requires a team of exotic animal specialists, a custom enclosure, and more meat per week than most third-world villages consume in a month. They do not purr, do not fetch, and if you turn your back on them, they remind you what apex predator truly means. But for all their glory, even golden tigers have a price. Elon Musk could buy a zoo of golden tigers, ship albino alligators to Mars, and still have money left for panda diplomacy. But even he cannot buy what comes next. Because this creature is not for sale. It is neither bred, nor traded, nor auctioned. There is only one place, under one condition, and the cost to approach it is not money, it is survival. It's not a pet, it's a final encounter. In a world where almost everything has a price, from cloned polo horses to golden tigers, there exists a creature that is entirely outside the laws of money, ownership, and trade. It is not protected by safes, bodyguards, or surveillance satellites, but by the knowledge that its disappearance would be irreversible. It is the vaquita porpoise, the most precious creature on Earth, not because of its cost, but because of what it would cost to lose it. Found only in the northern part of the Gulf of California, in Mexico, the vaquita is the smallest and rarest cetacean in the world. It is about 1.5 meters long, weighs about 45 kilograms, and has dark eyes surrounded by blurry black circles, an evolutionary accident that makes it look almost innocently cartoonish. But behind these gentle features lies a stark reality. Fewer than 10 vaquitas remain alive. This figure is not speculative. It is confirmed by acoustic monitoring of environmental DNA and direct observations. It is not just an endangered species, it is a biological countdown. In 1997, estimates suggested that about 600 vaquitas remained. In 2015, this figure had fallen below 100. Today, as few as 6 remain. Conservationists describe the population as functionally extinct, meaning that even if these few survive, they will likely not recover quickly enough to escape collapse. Unlike tigers or elephants, there is no zoo population, no successful breeding program, and no real captivity option. The few attempts to house vaquitas in enclosed marine areas have resulted in complete failure. A captured female died within a few hours due to stress. The species is not only rare, it cannot be kept. That is why Elon Musk, the man who launched his car into space and publicly toys with the idea of colonizing Mars, will never be able to buy one. He could bid on a gold yacht, a piece of the moon, or even build a private navy. He could not acquire a vaquita without destroying the very thing he seeks to own. Because unlike racehorses, pandas, or even cloned sheep, the vaquita does not increase in value with rarity. It becomes worthless the moment it is removed from the sea. The reason for the vaquita's decline is not poaching for its own body parts. No one harvests fins or teeth. Beyond that, it is collateral damage in another black market war. The real culprit is the illegal fishing of completely different creatures, the totoaba fish. Its swim bladder, considered a delicacy and a folk remedy in China, can sell for up to 100,000 euros per kilogram. To catch the totoaba, fishermen set large gill nets, trapping everything that swims nearby, including the vaquita. In this grotesque twist of fate, the vaquita dies for a crime it has nothing to do with. Despite the ban on gill nets in the region, enforcement remains difficult. The Mexican authorities under pressure from both local cartels and economic desperation, have not succeeded in eliminating illegal fishing. Conservation groups like Sea Shepherd have literally taken the fight to the water, patrolling the Gulf of California with anti-poaching ships, cutting nets in real time, and confronting armed fishermen. At one point, drones, sonars, and naval patrols were used just to protect a few remaining individuals. The security budget for the vaquita would rival that of some heads of state if someone paid in dollars. But the currency here is not money, it's survival. No auction house will ever put the vaquita up for sale, no collector will own one, no billionaire will ever post a photo of one in their private aquarium. Not because they haven't tried, but because they simply can't. The moment a vaquita is moved, it dies. The moment one is killed, the species loses another digit of its genetic clock. The entire species is protected not by price tags, but by the laws of nature and the thin edge of extinction. In economic terms, this makes the vaquita priceless. Not in the sentimental greeting card or trite sense, but in the more literal sense. It cannot be appraised, sold, or legally transferred. It exists in a zone beyond evaluation. For economists, it's a nightmare. For conservationists, it's a flashing red warning sign. If you were to capture one, you would trigger an international incident. Mexico has placed it under the highest possible environmental protection. The Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species has banned all international trade. Any attempt to buy, sell, transport, or even film a vaquita for profit would violate international law, attract criminal penalties, and be universally condemned. It's the biological equivalent of trying to buy the Mona Lisa, except it bleeds, swims, and breathes. That hasn't stopped rumors from arising. In 2019, a report surfaced claiming that a private collector in Macau had offered $5 million for a live vaquita, an offer that was reportedly rejected without negotiation. Others claim that a biotech startup once proposed to clone the species from tissue samples, only to realize they could not legally extract genetic material without being sued. Some ideas simply collapse under the weight of their own ethics. Yet, despite everything, despite all the nets, all the negligence, the international dysfunction, the vaquitas continue to survive. Not to reproduce, not to thrive, not to multiply, but to survive. Barely. And this survival is part of what makes them so incredibly valuable. Each living vaquita represents the last of something, the last gene, the last call, the last heartbeat of an evolutionary lineage that took millions of years to form. You cannot buy that. You can only protect it or destroy it. That is what sets the vaquita apart from every other entry on this list. The blue lobster? Rare but catchable. The golden tiger? Exotic but reproducible. The albino alligator? Beautiful but fragile. Even the white Arabian thoroughbred, as noble as it is, can be cloned, traded, or gifted. But the vaquita lives on the edge. It cannot be owned, it cannot be reproduced. It can only be left alone. Elon Musk could offer $1 billion in cryptocurrency. It would not matter. No government would allow it. No scientist could sustain it. No aquarium would keep it alive. It is not a challenge of wealth or technology. It is a challenge of restraint, because the only way to have a vaquita is to never touch it. While millionaires argue over genetically perfect dogs and oil sheikhs trade tigers for gold bars, the most expensive creature on the planet swims silently through a shrinking strip of Mexican Sea, unbought, unseen, and almost entirely forgotten. And in the end, it might be the most valuable of all.